call the meeting back to order. I'd like to welcome our visitors. If you have anything that you'd like to bring forward the board at this time, now's the time to do that, even though we cannot act on it. Seeing nobody coming forward, we'll skip down to transportation update. Mr. Tyson. I need to remind board members that Mr. Astor's in Washington DC, I think. So I'm sure he's having a great time, and I bet he's not even sweating up there. Good morning, Mr. Tyson.
Good morning, how are y'all?
Great, and you, sir? You may even forgot something.
Getting along.
Need to talk to you, huh?
You want to take theirs too?
Yeah, two, please, yes.
You can take it with him.
No,
That's their banner too.
That's the door. You might want to drop
Yeah,
that.
take the banner too.
Kevin,
The banner?
Please.
Oh,
I'm behind you, go ahead.
okay.
Good morning, how's everybody today? Transportation comes sound and bold. We made it through the last year and we're making it through the heat. That's my men are all up at Daytona in the training, and they asked me to ask the board if y'all would consider air conditioning the shop. And I did, so.
I'll be right back with you.
Can't take action.
They always have me ask, you know. Anyways, we had a pretty good year. We had some, really no major calamities. It's been no major accidents. We're thankful for that. I don't think we had actually a wreck on the roads. We've been going like 2 or 3 years now, and that's a good thing. So let's go through the slides. That's self-explanatory. And I don't know if she was our first bus driver, but that was supposed to be our first bus. And that picture stays with us. And I think I got that from Violet Lester. And she says that it's the truth. And that's all I know, but that's pretty old.
Yeah, I remember that bus.
Yeah. Somebody told me Rick rode on it, but
That's probably a good chance.
Eddie told me to say it.
Imagine it on water bills too.
You was strong enough that probably would fit in there.
I'm the coordinator, Steve Tyson, and Joe Wayne. He's our transportation training supervisor. He's back here with us. He's going to be coming up and sharing a few things. Our receptionist is Tina Berryhill Young. She comes from a long history of driving buses for us. She knows bus driving very well. Secretary is A.B. Fisher. She came on a few months back, or maybe close to a year now, I think. And she's learned a lot in a very short period of time, and she's become valuable to us. James Searles is our state certified technician. He's the crew leader. He organizes the men's day, helps with our carts and with our warranty work. He works closely with Tina when they're doing field trips. He makes sure she has the right bus in the right place. She makes sure she has a driver that works out. And state certified technicians Ethan Bray, David Fisher, Jared Hauser, and Gerald Miller are all from Daytona supposedly being trained. I looked in the van when they left, they had fishing poles, coolers, boogie boards, so I guess they got some downtime. That's what they said. We have, right now, 62 routes. And in 2008, we had 79 routes. And from 2008 to this year, we're down 12 routes. We're a little crowded in places, but not anything that can't be handled, not anything that can't be tolerated, and most certainly nothing unsafe. Bronson has 11 routes, and Cedar Key has 2, which has been that way for history. Chiefland's 16, they're down on 1 or 2. East ESC has remained at 8. Hilltop Summit has 5. Williston has 15, Yankeetown has actually 3. 2 are Dunellen buses, that makes it 5. And that brings us to a total of 52 routes. And we go by attrition. If somebody leaves or retires, we try to hold that route open until we can look at the others, and we massage where we can and move kids around. And if we can pinch one more, that's exactly what we do. Our ridership in Survey 2 of October 2013 was 3,663. And Survey 3 in February 2014 is 3,629. Our entire fleet are 95 buses. We have 62 routes. The rest are spares, and a few of those are actually like dead on the fence that we're going to sell off. They don't run anymore. We haven't had a chance to auction them off, but we have piled on to probably at least 20 good spares, because our future as far as being able to buy new buses is a little bleak right now until we get underway with the school program, and that's always been the case, and we're prepared for that. And we have just a little bit more room to use those spares when we have to, if the buses go down. So we're ready for that, as ready as we can be. Our fleet is in excellent condition as far as the years of the buses and the mileage of the buses. They all are looked at every 30 days from bumper to bumper. Everything is looked at, everything is touched. So those buses are safe when they're on the road. They may not look like it sometimes, a little faded yellow paint, maybe a dinger here, but they are safe. Our route miles this year, we turned in 1,080,738 miles. Our field trip miles were 45,665, and our total route and trip miles, 1,126,403,000. And our total fuel this year so far is 143,295 gallons. And that's lots of fuel, lots of miles. We're a rural county, and we have to go to the end of the world sometimes to pick up these kids, and it's just, it's what it takes. And I just pushed the wrong button. This is our new wrecker that we were able to purchase. We call it the Green Hornet. It's a Peterbilt, 1986 Peterbilt with a 3406 Caterpillar engine in it. It will run longer than I will be alive, probably. We got that at an auction at a really good price from Gainesville. They had it, and all they did was just move a trailer every now and then with it for the last 10 years, and they finally just, they didn't have room for it anymore, and they put it up for sale, and we picked it up. And we were able to get a hold of a little stinger that sticks right on that fifth wheel, hydraulic lifts to it, and we just back up and pick them up, and we can go anywhere now. We have the black wrecker still, which we use for the small vehicles and the trucks and the vans, but for the buses, it was really too much for it. We can take these to Tallahassee, we can take them to Jacksonville, we can go anywhere and tow them. And probably, right now, we're probably really about halfway of paying everything off that we have in that record. And probably by the end of the next year, we will, because you call the record service out of Gainesville, it's that big, you can move those things, it's like $500 just to come over and tow. And if they have to go any distance or work any kind of an accident, it's like $1,200 on up. So I thought that was good that we are capable of moving our own vehicles. It does save us quite a bit of money, and our guys, no diesels, and this is just like a bus.
How does that bus look up to that truck?
Pardon me?
How does that bus look up to that truck?
There's what we call a stinger that's on the fifth wheel, and it just hangs down like this with a bar across,
That's
and
right.
it hooks on, and then there's 2 rams that push it, and it just brings it right up.
Okay.
And it locks, there's a lock pin that goes underneath it so it can't go down on its own, and when we pick it up, you got it.
Thank you.
It works very nice.
That Stinger cost several thousand with the hydraulic
on there and all, but, that was actually purchased from the surplus store, Army surplus at Stark, outside of Stark by the county. And then I mentioned to one of the county employees that we needed one of those too, if they, and so the county just gave that one to the school board. So we actually have nothing except fixing the hydraulics.
Yeah, we really came out well in this deal. One of those Stinger fifth wheels that's all ready to go, it cost $10,000. We couldn't find one, you know, used under 5,000. We were looking around on the internet, so we're just thankful, you know, we got ways and means around here in this country.
And
Children, yes. Okay, I'm gonna have Amy come up. She's actually our operator of this system. We've had this in now for over a year. Actually, this is our first full year that we've used it. And as it says up there, you know, it tracks our fuel usage, and she's going to show you a little bit of that, and it protects us against theft of fuel. I don't think we ever really had a great problem with that, but also within that phrase, protects, it also gives us a great deal more of security. Nobody can tamper with those things. Nobody can go turn them on. They can't break in and turn on anything. It's all done electronically and by computer. And if you don't have a key or a code, you can't get in it. And it allows us now for the buses to fuel anytime, 24/7. Sometimes they want to fill up on Saturday or Sunday to prepare for the trips, and they're able to do that now. And when they come in late at night, they're able to access the pumps, which is helps them out tremendously. Amy?
Yeah, you can do it, okay. I tried to put these pamphlets in order that we got them on here. This first one is basically tells you about the key, and if y'all ever fueled up, you know what that key means. Then, it's like a thumb drive. The key is programmed to that particular vehicle. So when you use that key to fuel it, it tracks back and tells me what vehicle it went in. So each key is, you know, has its own code for each vehicle. So that's how it helps us, you know, to know what vehicle it was put in. Plus, everybody should have a PIN number. That tracks it back to the person. So that's what that is. It gives you a little information on it. I can program these keys within probably a matter of 10 seconds on the system. So, you know, whether, if we need to update something on the vehicle or something, we can bring it in, reprogram it, and it's good to go.
You'll have to say ding.
Okay, ding. This next report is just basically a report showing you, up top it'll tell you it's an online polling report. Excuse me. I print out these pretty much every day. This basically tells me that all of my sessions are successful. If you look, see at the top it says daily report, well I kind of on the slide up here I showed it in blue. That's what I look for mainly every day. That tells me all of my systems out there are running properly. If I get an error, then I need to figure out what's going on and at what site. And it will tell me what site has a problem. And that's when I either need to send a guy out there to see what's going on, or we can have Fuel Master ping in and look at it.
I will interject that we did have one lightning strike last year that took one of the pumps out, and Amy and I went to school for a few days. Where was that, down in Tampa? Tallahassee.
Back in July.
And they trained us how to rebuild those things. And when we called them, they sent us down a bunch of computer parts, and we just put them in there, and boom, up and running, it was going. So we can do it all down there. It worked out pretty good, and thankfully we don't have too many lightning strikes on the pumps. Danny?
Any questions? Okay. The next report is just, these next few reports is going to show you different ways I can pull reports off of this system. This one here is done by, if you look at the top, it's done by vehicle ID. And I you know, have a date range, and I put in the vehicle number. This was bus 35, and I ran it from July 1st of 2013 till 5/30 of 14, just, you know, the range date so you can see what it looks like. And to read this, it tells you the date that it was fueled, the time it was fueled, what site, and who put the fuel in that. That's where the PIN number comes in when you fuel. The odometer reading then comes in there. This in here looks like the odometer is being put in pretty good. We do have some odometer problems being put in. And we might have some in here that you can see them. But this one also tells you what hose number. You know, we got a hose for regular fuel and a hose for
gasoline and diesel.
yes. The product also, you know, determines like product number 2 is diesel. Then it tells you the gallons. And of course, it gives you a summary, you know, totals it up for you at the bottom, and then has, you know, a little recap on the next couple of pages. So that's by vehicle ID. The next one is by department ID. And busing would have been really huge. So I done it by maintenance. And this here tells you, and it puts it in order by, let's see, it puts it in order by, I think, the user ID. And it tells you who done it, which the first one is Ted, his user ID. And then it goes down, and it tells you everything, the date, the time, the site, what vehicle it was put in, the odometer, the gallons, and everything. So this is, you know, basically the same type of report. This report was run from 5/1 to 6 to yesterday. So just a good report of how, you know, different ways we can pull these reports.
Let me interject one thing. What is really nice about this for finance is that when they put the code in for whatever they're using it for, if it's a tractor, if it's a diesel can or a 5-gallon can of gasoline for a lawnmower, that automatically tells us that is being, it's like the finance, where it comes out of from the feds. We have to report to the federal government about for the sales tax or something. And it makes it a lot easier for us to identify where our fuel is and how many gallons belongs to that pot, how many gallons belongs to this pot. So that's been a great big help. It takes hours, and then they used to just sign a little card in the shed, and most of the time they didn't sign it, so it was really difficult to track it and know exactly how much came out of it.
Is that the ID number there, where the red?
Am I on the right one?
You mean the user ID?
No, in the one you just broke down, the one that was broken down by maintenance, under the ID, is that where like, under the ID would be, obviously, the odometer reading is a gas can then?
Yes, we have,
Right.
we have them broken down by vehicle truck, vehicle van. If you see something that looks like a GC, that's a gas can. If you see something that's, you know, maybe got a track, a T, or.
5350.
Yeah, that tells you what type of vehicle. If you look on that page 6 of that, you'll see, like Stephanie, she, has a tractor, and you'll see like an 8305, that's a lawnmower. And you'll see the smaller numbers on that, that's the actual hours on that lawnmower.
That
So,
makes it good too. Easier to know what it went into. Thanks.
any other questions? Okay, all right. This one here is, this one here is done by user ID, and I just picked up, you know, done one of our subs, because, you know, she used 3 different buses. This tells me from June 1st to June 16th, that user ID, now your user ID is not the same as your PIN. Okay? This tells me that Christina, our sub, she put gas in bus number 57 on June the 2nd at 5:27 a.m. and the odometer reading at that time was 109,232 miles. She used hose number 1, product number 2, and she pumped 37 gallons. This basically tells you how we can also pull it by the user. I can see what, you know, each person put in as far as fuel.
One of the troubles that we had in the years past is when they used sub buses, they were notorious for not filling out paperwork on them. And we'd get the sheets back that were supposed to be filled out. We didn't know how much fuel was put in it, what the mileage were, how far they went. Now it's completely different. They have to report every bit of that, or they can't get don't, it'll tell us that. And if they attempt and don't put in the information they're supposed to, it will alert us to that, we can check it out one by one, but that also is a big help for us. And our numbers are a lot more accurate than they've ever been.
Now, the next, one, it shows you by, I can also run a report, I don't think I printed this one, but just as an idea, I don't want to give y'all a whole lot of paper, but if I knew somebody's last name, but didn't know their user ID, I can look them up by last name. As you can see, this report here, you have to look at the screen up here, was run by the person's last name. So, just another report of different ways we can run, okay? Now the second handout I gave you, it's not gonna be on the screen. It's just some other reports I'll go over with you. The first one is a, go online with FMU status report. I know this looks like a lot of Greek to y'all, but this tells me everything that happened at the pumps. It tells me, on 6/12 at 7:43, the dispenser was activated. Then it tells me everything through that. It tells me what it told the person that was using it. Said, insert key and hold 1 second to begin. Then the fuel master waits, and then it says, enter your user ID. Okay, there's where you put your ID, and that was Steve, that one, and that's his. Okay, then it says, enter your odometer. That's where you enter your odometer. And then it tells him, whoa, wait a minute, it's too high. Please try again. And what happens is, at some point, if the fuel you put in and your odometer reading, it don't think it's coincide. So, and this is, something that's going to be, I'm going to have to work on in this next coming year, because this is such a new system, and I'm still learning a lot about it. And there's a lot that we can do with this. But this basically tells me everything that went on at that site, and for that period of time. So if somebody says, there's times where it looks like here they, I guess people just say, the heck with it, I give up. Come get a mechanic. But this right here tells me everything that went on at them different fuel sites. The communication between the person at that fuel site, when they entered that key, it tells me the communication between that person and the site.
You don't have video camera on it yet, though.
The next report is just it's a detailed export report. This basically will break down everything that was used in the different sites, who got it, it's a summary, quantity, and we don't have the cost because we're not to the point where we're entering the cost of the fuel yet. I hope that at some point I can do that. My goal this next year, to start July 1, is to maintain the inventory, okay? We send James out every month, and he does a stick reading at all of the sites. So what I'm going to do starting July 1 is I'm going to enter that fuel into the inventory program in this program. And as the fuel comes in, each month we get deliveries, I will enter that in. The usage will come out automatically. So that way I can maintain an inventory at each site. Okay. It's going to be a challenge, but we'll get it done. Okay? And then the next report is just basically broke down. It's from July 1 to June 16. It's a vehicle fuel usage report. If you'll look, it'll tell you the first time, the last time of the mileage, the difference, and it tells you fuel pump. If you take the miles, like on the first one is 5,176 miles, and you divide it by how many gallons have been put in that, you can kind of get an estimate of how many miles per gallon. So we do have to critique it a little bit because the default was in the Fuel Master system that it thought every vehicle should get 50 miles to the gallon. Well, we know better. So, but it's just a default. When I called Fuel Master about it, they can't explain to me why it was that way. But it's something that this number is going to be attached as these, vehicles come in for maintenance. James and I are going to get together. We're going to go into that each vehicle, and I'll have to have that key. This is where that reprogramming that key comes in. I'll go into that Fuel Master to that vehicle and put the amount of gallons that tank holds, and then the consumption, and that way we will reprogram that key, and we will get, hopefully this time next year, we will get some true numbers. I mean, and we can get an average of, based on the gallons that the tank size of that vehicle has in it. So that's what I'm looking for, my project for this year. just to maintain inventory and
One of
keep
the
updated.
projects.
Yes.
Just mention, you might ask, what do we do if the computer flows up, you know? How we get that? Well, we have a bypass key, which only Ted, I think he has one, I have one, there are very few that are out there that can go in there and turn that machine on the manual at any of the sites, so that we can still get fuel in case, you know, a computer crashes, and that's possible. But other than that, that's the only way that anybody can get fuel out of our system, is they have to have that key and ID. So it's pretty safe.
Any questions?
Very good. Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Joe's gonna come up and, just go through the surveillance with you a little bit. There's been a few changes. One thing is not tagged on his name as driver trainer, he's also our audio visual technician. He handles, he looks at probably about 80% of the tapes that come through. And, you know, if you haven't ever had to sit down and watch tapes like that, it gets pretty boring, but he's done an excellent job. Want to take it from here?
Good morning. All of our route buses now have the new 4-camera Seon digital system. They were updated from, used to be a VCR in all the buses with a black and white camera. And now they have these hard drives. This holds 8 hours. This holds 140 hours of 4 cameras. And every camera also has a microphone, so we can listen to different parts of the school bus as well. So these are two screenshots from the software, and this records in total darkness. So if there's an incident on a field trip, it's recorded. And then the bottom is just a daytime screenshot.
It's very good too in the dark. Very good.
Yeah.
It's scary.
Besides video and audio, it also records the driver's location, speed. The bottom left box is also, it's hooked to every light, brake lights, student warning lights, turn signals, all that can be brought up. And we also can utilize this if there's a claim that the driver's getting to the bus stop late, we can look back over 2-3 weeks and look at what time they're getting to that stop. And it's a very useful tool. Actually, Mr. Sumner is here. He was going to talk about how he utilizes this tool.
He's an end user. We wanted to get the opinion of an end user.
I'm RJ Sumner, the assistant principal over at Bronson Elementary. I can definitely tell you that it is an asset to have on the buses, strictly because it's a preventative tool that we can use, because kids see it in the air and know that they're watching. Do some of them respond to it 100%? No. But for those that understand that it's there and there's immediate accountability, it's a great tool to have. And when I need a tape or there's an incident, instead of having to interview 20 kids on the bus, I can call over to transportation, they'll pull the tape and I can see it for myself black and white, which then, or colored, which then gives me more time to be back into the classroom and support the teachers, walking through instead of handling some of those issues. And it's also, you know, for bullying prevention, that's huge right now, you know, dealing with the kids, because their first, you know, part of school is getting on that school bus. And if it is a rough ride already, academically, that's how they're going to perform as well. They're that stressed out on the bus. And I can say that it's helped me deal with some parents at the bus as well, that there's been issues and accusations, and it definitely gives me a leg to stand on sometimes dealing with some of the more aggressive parents. And the ones that, you know, have made an accusation against some of the drivers, it does help us to support them as well.
Very good. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Joe's going to tell you how that gets into their hands now.
The administrators or sometimes bus drivers will request the video pulled. When we pull this drive out of the buses, the mechanics will run around and swap them out. And there were 349 of these requested last school year. It took the mechanics 232 and a half hours to get them to the transportation building. And then Mr. Tyson and I, we will archive and capture pieces of video. Sometimes the administrators know what they're looking for, sometimes they just request an entire day. Or if they're investigating a bully incident, they'll request an entire week of video. And Mr. Perez has created a server where I just drop the digital video into the school's folder. Nothing has to be delivered to them, and they don't have to return anything. And they can immediately watch the video. And
I also say that the folder's available to us at the district office, and sometimes we'll call Joe and say, can you send us this? And he will send us that video, and all I have to do is sit at my desk and pull it up and watch it. And yeah, others too.
and it's, Mr. Tyson and I log about 185 hours of capturing and archiving video. Okay, a big change for us is our DOT physicals are being done in our new health center. And this has really made things easier and cheaper. And knowing that everything is done in one building, I think it is better too, instead of using different doctors. That's been a big change for us. Okay, the drug program is always ever changing because the drug testing is always getting better. And we are on the state bid with First Lab, so we pay the same as all the other districts. This is the 7 panels that we test for.
I think there was a time when they began, they didn't test for.
It was only 5 panels.
Like marijuana and a couple of the, I think heroin was one, and they didn't even have ecstasy and GHB back then when they started all this, so you know, this thing grows every year. We add stuff to it and the tests are becoming more sophisticated.
So the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration says we will test half of our fleet drug testing and 10% for breath alcohol tests. They come and the drivers have to blow. And that's our cost annually for the drug testing. The other good thing about First Lab is they actually supply me with the random list. Because a lot of times the drivers think I'm picking on them. I have no say. They email me the list of the drivers, when they'll be tested, and who's tested.
How far in advance do they know?
Well, it's done in quarters, and we call the driver that morning. They get about an hour's notice. And the training is also ever-changing. It's usually driven by news stories. I'll see what a district's going through, and then I try to find a way to train us so we don't have the same situation, so we don't make the news. And the state requires 8 hours a year.
I like to say, training is our #1 defense against accidents. I know they don't like it, but the training, they go back over and over it, because you can get in a bus with a driver that's been driving for 30 years, and I can say, what did that sign say? And they won't know. Or you just had a flat, what do you do? And they don't get flat very, very often. So we have to keep reminding them what the procedures are, keep showing them the points that you can become complacency on that will cause a severe accident, and it's really helped. And, I mean, our accident numbers are down, and that speaks for the training that they get. And I really appreciate Joe, he's done a great job.
Thank you, Steve. That was, and Amy and Miss Young, and Joe, that was a wonderful presentation. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Tyson, and your group, y'all did a great job. Very informative. the next item on the agenda is the union grievance step. Says, mine says Betsy.
Yeah, I think that George is gonna.
Rigor, but I don't.
That's not a big feature, so it's on the second string. I'll be here representing LCD. Carmen is out now. Betsy is out. My name is George Bowman. I'm with the Florida Education Association here on behalf of the LCA in a separate agreement. I'm not sure whether the board has a copy of the actual grievance as part of your packet. You do?
Yes.
Okay. The LCA has attempted to resolve this grievance at the lowest possible level. At each step of the grievance, the administration has denied it. We feel that the contract language is clear and unambiguous with regards to the sick leave bank. The language the district cites in its response at each level regarding workers' compensation pay does not preclude employees from using donated sick leave or sick leave bank days to make up a shortfall. And just for your information, here are the essential facts of the case. An employee, a member of the sick leave bank, applied for sick leave after an injury left her unable to work for the remainder of the school year. The sick leave bank approved the employee's request. At some point after the request was approved, the district learned that the employee was receiving workers' compensation from another employer as the injury occurred at the employee's second job. The district refused to pay the leave as approved and notified the employee that due to her workers' comp status, she was not eligible for sick leave bank days. The employee consulted with the union and was advised to reapply for the 1/3 in pay that to make up for any shortfall left by workers' comp. The employee requested an application from Ms. Turner and was informed that she was ineligible. The union procured an application and provided it to the employee. The employee made another application to sick leave bank and was approved on April 28th with 3 required votes under the contract. The following day, on the 29th of April, Ms. Turner issued a letter to the employee advising her that the district would not honor the committee's decision. It's our belief the contract is clear in this matter. Article 13 identifies the process through which an employee becomes a member of the bank, how contributions will be assessed, how members are to go about making the request, and how the sick leave bank committee shall operate. All the requirements of the employee and the member and the committee were followed under that same article, section 9. There is a sentence in there that states the decision of the committee shall be final. The committee has met on this issue twice, has come to the same decision twice. That decision is final and should be upheld by the board. As a remedy, what we're seeking is that the board or that the district cease and desist from having any district employee act as a gatekeeper for the sick leave bank committee. There should be no screening of applicants prior to consideration by the full committee. And second, that the district will abide by all previous and future decisions of the sick leave bank committee. And unless you have questions, that's my presentation.
So I have a question. So you're saying that you don't want anyone in the district to have any authority over money, the money that we give out? That's what you're saying?
What I'm saying is that there are procedures set forth in the contract, the negotiated agreement that the school board and the union entered into. We believe that those procedures were followed, and we believe that the request and the granting of the days under that request or under the collective bargaining agreement is legal. So in that case, the days should not have been denied. The district should not be withholding the days that the sick leave bank under the collective bargaining agreement, made their decision. So that's our position.
Was it clearly stated that this injury happened at a second job for the sick leave committee?
You mean initially? I mean, I don't know that. I mean, it was obviously clear that the injury did happen. It was, that piece of information was made known to the committee by the second vote.
So in other words, answer that question, no.
The answer to that question is no to the first vote, yes to the second.
Okay. Now, I'm sorry, Ms. Calvin. How about this sick leave bank committee? Who's on that committee? Is that anywhere in this information? I didn't see it, but that'll mean it's not there.
There are 3 members appointed by the LCEA and 2 by the district.
Okay, so,
So that's 3-2 vote.
Yeah,
That means
look-
that vote,
regardless of
y'all are
how,
filing a grievance, that's a stacked vote, right?
Stacked vote.
That's 3 of 2.
That's the requirements under the collective bargaining agreement. It was negotiated by the board and the union and ratified by both, and has been the language of the contract for quite a few years.
Who serves on the committee?
I know Carmen is a member of the committee. I don't know all the members of the sick leave bank committee. I don't know that that matters, but because unless there's a dispute about whether or not the members of the committee are eligible to participate, and that's never been alleged, I don't know what the relevance would be of what the names of the people are. Yes.
I can't obviously argue law because I'm not a lawyer, but I can say some things. The sick leave bank refers to that individual's days, correct? But let me just go with my part and then wherever else you go from there, that'll be fine. It's my understanding, and to me it's a logical conclusion. Once days are given to the sick bank, they don't belong to that individual.
Well,
And that workers' comp is a different animal than sick leave bank.
Well, Mr. Turner, I respectfully disagree with the assessment.
And I just.
I mean, that's why we're here today, is, obviously the parties don't agree to the prior decisions made in the grievance step. So that's, we're required to be here before the school board.
But then the bottom line beyond that is that this board is being asked to pick up the final third compensation of a workers' comp claim did not even occur on any of our facilities.
Oh, is that the case? That's what's happening?
Yes.
Where the bank's days are donated by the employees
To the bank.
to the bank.
So it doesn't belong to that employee.
But that employee is entitled to draw on the days, and that's our position. And, whether you think that that's appropriate or not, I just disagree with your assessment of it.
And I still hold that I don't believe Lincoln County School Board should be responsible for workers' compensation in any manner that is not a Lincoln County injury on the job to where they're receiving workers' comp.
Why are they not getting sick leave from that second job?
Well, I have no idea what their second job is, and I don't know what why or if they're even eligible to have sick leave days. I mean, some jobs don't actually provide sick leave. We're talking about a second job here, but in any event, it's our position that the days requested were in compliance with the collective bargaining agreement negotiated by the parties, ratified, and the member is eligible for the days under the collective bargaining agreement.
So they're getting workman's comp at the other job, or they get workman's comp from Levy County too?
I don't believe they are,
No,
because
the other job's workman's comp is paying the workman's comp for that position and for the position at Levy County.
the total that we're requesting is to make the employee whole, that is, make that employee's salary to be 100% of their salary. We're not asking for them to be receiving more than what they would have normally received.
Well, Ms. Desi, you have something you want to say, sir?
But I just want to support the sick leave committee, myself and Mr. Turner, other two members from the administration staff.
Ms. Davis, were you finished?
Oh, yes, I just take the question.
Thank you.
Thank you. The administration certainly acknowledges the right of the sick leave bank committee to make the decision to award leave to employees, except when that decision violates the employee contract, or when it violates school board policy, or also in doing so, it fails to follow its own practice. The approval of this grievance will violate 3 governing standards by which this school board operates. First, it violates the collective bargaining agreement with the union, and that would be Article 7, Paragraph 3, Section B, which states, the employee may draw workman's compensation and use 1/3 of a day of his or her unused sick or annual leave for each day that the employee is approved for illness in line of duty. I would emphasize 1/3 of a day of his or her unused sick or annual leave. When the employee absent runs beyond accumulated sick or vacation leave, the workman's compensation will be paid at 66 2/3% of his or her weekly average. So that the awarding of this would be in violation of the contract between the union and the school board. But in addition to that, it also violates school board policy. That would be Section 6.226B, which states this. The employee may charge 1/3 of each day to accumulated, I emphasize accumulated sick leave, with the remaining 2/3 to be assumed by workman's compensation. If all sick leave is exhausted prior to the end of 1 year, the case shall be turned over to workman's compensation and carried until the benefits are exhausted under the provisions of the workman's compensation law. So approving of this grievance would also violate school board policy. Additionally, this would violate the past practice of the union and the board for at least the past 20 years. This is a workman's compensation issue. This is not a sick leave bank issue. There is a distinct difference between accumulated sick leave and donated leave. In fact, we can go to the dictionary for definitions. Accumulated is when a person or entity collects or gathers over a period of time. Donated is the act of giving or bestowing a gift. And workman's compensation laws are enacted with a specific purpose in mind. The 66 2/3% compensation was intended to pay for the necessities of life, and yet, at the same time, encourage employees to return to work as soon as possible. Now, concerning the sick leave bank, The administration has serious concerns about the occasional abuse of the bank. And as you stated, it is stacked, and we, as administration, are always outvoted. An example of this abuse would be this. A teacher last summer cleared out all of her personal possessions during the summer, and then at the same time applied for 100 days of sick leave bank days. We knew that teacher never intended to come back to work. In fact, she was in the process at that time of taking a 3-week vacation in Europe. But at the conclusion of those 100 days donated by the sick leave bank, the teacher turned in her resignation. Therefore, the administration would encourage negotiations with the union that would alleviate the district administration from participation in the sick leave bank committee. I see no need in continuing with the committee, just turn it over to the union because they're going to vote however they want to vote. But in addition to that, I am also of the opinion that the sick leave bank is antiquated with the change of legislation last year. Now, any employee may donate days to any other employee that has a need. Before that period of time, you could only donate to a near immediate family member. But now, you can donate to anybody that has a need that's in the system. Knowing that educators are generous people, I believe this method and the change in the law will replace the sick leave bank in the future. To address one of his other concerns in the grievance, an employee could always pick up a sick leave bank application at any school site. In fact, that's where this particular employee picked up the first application. It wasn't from the school board office, it was from the school site, even though her injury occurred at her second job. But per the request of the union, the sick leave bank application is posted on the school board website for employee access. And so an employee can access the application at any time, anywhere. Or they can pick it up at their school site, or they can pick it up at the board office, whatever they desire. But for the reasons of violating the contract with the union, violating school board policy, and running amok against the past practice for the last 20 years, I ask you to deny this grievance. Questions?
Any questions at all? Good. You've heard the presentation on both sides. Anybody have any comment before we vote?
Counselor, should this be by show of hands since it's a grievance, or is voice okay?
I think it'd be better to have it as a show of hands.
Okay. All in favor of, I guess we say allowing the grievance?
I would say denying
All
the
right.
grievance.
All in favor of denying the grievance, please signify by raising your right hand. All opposed, same sign. By a vote of 4-0, the grievance is denied.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Will we be receiving a letter confirming that?
We will be in keeping with the union and administration contract, yes, sir.
Is that, I mean, so that'll be by notice of by written notice, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that's what the contract calls for.
Can you get a copy of his,
You can ask.
I just had some, what?
your remarks that you, can I have a copy of that?
Um,
My supplemental?
I just had some notes that,
Okay.
so,
It's okay, we'll just use mine. Thank you.
that's up to you. I mean, I think that,
No, it's okay.
I'm just gonna put it all, have it
Sure.
together, supplemental minutes.
Okay, thank you. All right. Ms. Pam, read the issues corrected in a minute.
The minutes, no, sir.
Anybody got any questions on the minutes, Mr. Cowell?
No, sir.
Ms. Brookins?
No, I do not.
Mr. Turner? I have none. Do I hear a motion to approve the minute?
Moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Minutes are approved. Consent agenda, Ms. Pam. Is there any additions or, to the consent agenda?
The only would be that Board Voting was here instead of Betsy Weaver, or whatever that name is.
Okay.
That's all I have. These are changed.
Ms. Cowell, you have any comments on the consent agenda?
No, sir, my questions were addressed them before, so.
Mr. Turner?
Under the finance resolution offering certain measures of flexible spending, did you get that email from me, Ms. Pam?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I fixed that.
All right, thank you.
The one that's being signed is correct.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Brogan?
I did not.
Mr. Turner?
None at this time, thank you.
I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, nay. Motion passes. Mr. Superintendent?
Yes, thank you. First of all, the FCAT scores, the EOCs, and all the year-end testing scores are out. And we had some bright spots, and we had some spots that we certainly need to address. But I've asked Dr. Winnett, our Assistant Superintendent in charge of curriculum, to kind of brief you on the scores and where we're at.
Morning, board members. Looking at our reading scores and looking at the state reading scores as well, I will say that the state was flat. Not a lot of gains for the state. They held in some areas, they were +1 in some other areas. This is 3rd grade through 10th grade. One highlight for us was in 4th grade, we were +8 points from where we were last year. There were some other areas where we were even, and then some other areas we declined, and those are some things that we're going to be addressing with our principals. And tomorrow we're having a principals meeting, assistant principals as well, and we're going to look at everything: curriculum, instruction, teachers, placement. What we're finding is that there are schools that are performing, and we know that our kids are similar throughout our district. So if we have teachers that are able to perform at a high level, then our goal is to find out exactly what they're doing, how they're executing in the classroom, and making sure that we share that information with our other teachers. Let me point out some highlights as far as the school levels. Cedar Key was above state average in 6th grade. They were above state average in 7th grade and 8th grade. And Chiefland High School was above state average in 8th grade reading, and Yankeetown was above in 8th grade reading as well. Cedar Key was also above in 9th grade reading. Bronson High School was above in 10th grade reading. So when we see this is happening across the district, we know that it can happen in all of our schools. Looking at math, again, the state was flat, not showing very many gains. As a district, we were at state average in 3rd grade. Williston L, Chiefland L, Bronson L above state average. In 4th grade, we had Bronson L, Williston L above state average. 5th grade, Bronson L, Cedar Key above state average. 6th grade, Cedar Key, Chiefland High School. 7th grade, Cedar Key, Chiefland High School. And and 8th grade Yankeetown was above state average. So those are some highlights, some positives. Moving on to writing, I already talked to you about writing in our last meeting, but just worth highlighting. 8th grade was above state average. High school actually gained 19 points in writing this year, 19 percentage points. So that was definitely a highlight. In our end of course exams, we were above state average in every end of course exam, Algebra 1, biology, U.S. history. U.S. history, we were top 10 in the state in our U.S. history scores. And again, our focus is on improvement, working with our principals, working with our schools, working with you, looking at what's working, and we'll continue to do that tomorrow. I can tell you we're committed to this work, we're dedicated to it. We want to see our students and our teachers and our principals supported and performing at the highest level. So,
Thank you, Chuck.
We will continue to work to try to improve. You can never be satisfied with where you're at, and we certainly are not. But we have a lot of confidence in our administrators and in our teachers, and know that they are working diligently with our students, and we applaud for all their dedication and hard work. We do think that we need to make some adjustments in our instructional level at the county office, and we certainly will be making those type of adjustments. But I'm very proud of the staff that we have and the commitment they have to doing everything we can for our schools and students. I bring to you one other item, and I call it Seek No More. If you recall, about two and a half years ago, I signed up through NEFAC a grant that would allocate us several $1 million over a 5-year period of time, knowing that we were moving to performance pay instead of the step-by-step schedule, which had been in existence forever and which was much easier to operate than performance pay. But we are moving in that direction, as all the states are, and we will certainly be there doing the best we can for our teachers and staffs in that mode. But in order to give us some operating money, this grant became available, and this year would be the first year that we would pay out, this coming year, would pay out to all of our schools performance pay bonuses. They're not bonuses, they would be part of their salary schedule. And this year that would allocate to us about $330,000. And I'm sorry that Mr. Bowens left and did not hear my speech at this point in time. But we are barely at 3% fund balance, and we have to have that much to stay fluid. And I will not be bullied into bankruptcy for the school system. The most loving thing I can do is to make sure that we're financially sound to pay out all of our teachers. I wish I could give them all a $10,000 raise, but that's not going to happen. And so the next best thing I can do is make sure that their paychecks do not bounce. And so that's where we will be, and doing the best we can. But this grant has now died, and I'll read a letter that we wrote back to NEFAC explaining why. It says, the School Board of Levy County has worked diligently with the Levy County Educational Association to create a mutually agreeable memorandum of understanding, or MOU, for participation in the SEEK, or the TIF grant. We met with the union on 5 separate occasions to resolve the wording of the MOU. On June 9th of 2014, the union president, Ms. Carmen Ward, sent out an email to all employees stating that they did not, meaning the union did not sign off on the MOU. The union will not send the MOU out to the employees for ratification of the bargaining unit. The school board of Lincoln County has no other option than to officially withdraw from the CTIP grant. We thank the NEFAC for the opportunity to be a part of this grant and wish them and other participating districts much success in their endeavor to implement the grant. But that was $330,000 that just disappeared. We
Because
had
they
that.
wouldn't sign it,
Huh?
just because they wouldn't sign that.
Because they wanted to sign it, and if we move forward past this summer, then if it died, then we would have to pay back all that money to the grant. And so we had to have a finality, and we've been trying since January to get this voted on, to get it signed. And their objections, and I hate to talk for the union, but their objections was that they only wanted to sign a one-year MOU, and we needed a 3-year, because if we signed a 1-year MOU and then they voted it down next year, then we have to pay back $800,000. We can't afford to pay back to the TIP grant $800,000. So we needed a 3-year commitment on it, the life of the grant. They didn't want to go there. The other objection was that each teacher would have to have 2 evaluations a year. Now, that does not violate school board policy, that's what the union has stated. The school board policy says, or the union contract says, that each teacher will be evaluated at least 1 time a year. And so 2 times does not violate the contract. But they felt like they were giving up contract language by having tenured teachers to be evaluated twice. And they did not want to put the tenured teacher in that. And they acted like that was, you know, a burden on them. When our principals take it 7 to 8 hours to do an evaluation, the burden is just as much on the principals and APs. But yes, sir.
How did they explain away the part of the contract, or the policy with at least one? I mean,
They don't explain away, they just say, we don't want to give up contract language.
you know, at least one doesn't mean anything but one to them.
Exactly. In their mind. And that has been past practice where we just did one. But in order to be part of the grant, you had to do 2. And this is a federal grant, you know, so it wasn't something that we could, we asked if we could negate that part. And they said, no way. That evaluations are vital to good employees doing a good job. And so they wouldn't do away with that. There was one other point they objected to. What was that?
The professional development,
Yeah,
we moved on that language to say expected to participate. The language original in the MOU was more on the required side. So we moved to expected to, and it's still wouldn't send it out.
I'm on, you know, and this is certainly a sore spot with me, but you know how hard they fought professional development. And we had one teacher state that it was a slap in their face that we should require her to be professionally developed. And I'm gonna tell you, looking at that teacher's test scores, they need to be fired. Because that teacher needs some professional development. And I have no tolerance for professionals that have yet to be professionally developed. Anyway, those were their 3 objections, and like I said, we could not go with doing it for less than the 3-year period. We could not negate the 2 times being evaluated. And also, we did move on the wording, excuse me, the wording of professional development, but not to their satisfaction. So they wouldn't even sign or send it out for ratification. So that grant is dead. Yes.
Before you move on from there, Mr. Superintendent, my understanding that a major part of that grant was dealing with preparing those teachers for the, pay. And yet, for performance pay.
Yes.
And yet, that is still going to happen, performance pay. The union knows that that's going to happen. Okay, I'm just trying to get my little brain squared away as to why that's an issue. But then, other than the other part, I can understand. But the seat grant is going to be helping those teachers
Well,
get ready for
part of
performance pay.
their rhetoric is that that was only for teachers. That did not include the staff people. But if we had that $330,000 to give to teachers, then we would have the other money to give to staff people. Now that that's gone, we spread it out over 800-900 employees. It'll be a slap to their faces, the little amount of money that we have. Sad, it's sad.
Thank you for your indulgence.
Here's the thing, I just cannot understand it for the life of me. I've tried and tried, I just cannot. I don't understand why these people, these teachers don't want to get better at what they're doing. I don't understand it.
I think they're doing
That bull, look at some of these scores we get back from the state, tell me how good they are.
I'm just trying to get.
It just irritates me to know they don't want to get better. I'm sorry.
In the letter that she sent out, there was 5 things that Chief Carmen, being the person. The grant implementation would require all teachers in the district to participate in 2 formal evaluations, regardless of their evaluation category, with no way to opt out. Best case scenario would be minimal compensation with required loss of contract rights, such as voluntary summer participation in professional development, and possibly forced loss of instructional time.
Now, some of that's just not true.
This is what
I know
was
that's what
sent
she said.
to our teachers and our employees, and it sickens me that this continues to go on and the lies that are perpetrated and put there to our employees. And we just lost an opportunity to give a pay raise with money that goes out there, and it's where we are. Ms. Anna, where are we at right now with our fund balance? Yeah, ballpark it.
We hope to end up the year with approximately 1.6 million in cash. Now that's, we do have other things we have to figure in that fund balance. We're hoping to be at 3%, but it's not a guarantee.
And I sat last week in Tampa with districts that if they would have 3%, I mean, they have board policy that they have to keep 5 or 8%.
Or 9.
So fund balances.
One of my goals as superintendent was to be at 5%, because that's where I think we can operate comfortably. In 6 years, I've never been able to get there because of the situation with the recession and all, and declining enrollment. But I don't know if I'll get there.
We can keep working.
We'll work on it, but it's not going to be this year.
Any other comments or questions for the student?
Well, I'm really sorry, Commissioner Thorne, I have to leave too on that one. That's-
Sorry that nobody else represented you this year.
I just cannot figure out how they think they're doing justice to their employees.
Who are you representing this morning, sir?
I'm with the Chief on Citizen. I'm helping out over there.
Glad to have you.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Okay, Mr. Turner, you have any comments?
The comments that I have, are we having executive session?
Patrick, we don't have anything to present other than what I just
I'm
presented.
going to hold until then, that's it, we're on. I would just like to reiterate us keeping the teachers informed, regarding the performance pay that is coming, in spite of the fact that the union is going to hold on to the status quo and give raises to those people like you were referring to that had the bad test scores and didn't have any ability to go into professional development. Superintendent, district staff.
Mr. Turner, I will say this, that she didn't put out her letter until the last day, the teacher work day. And so I didn't feel like I could follow it where the teachers would get it. And so in August, when they're back, they will get a just the facts letter.
Long. No, that was in no way not indicating that it was not going on.
I appreciate it.
Just as a reminder from this board member to please keep that going on. So some of the teachers anyway will understand,
Yeah,
you know, hey, this is coming regardless.
that's it for you.
Yes, well, that's it. Thank you. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Turner. Ms. Brookins?
I just wish that, I mean, I think it's sad that we do have that distance between us on the union and things, because I feel like we're all trying so hard to work with them, and we want the best things for the teachers and everything. I mean, I certainly don't agree with giving money out of the sick bank to somebody that's hurting another job, you know, and that takes away from other people, but, I wish there was a method, a way that, because when you do go to the state meetings, there are a lot of boards and their unions, and they have good relationships, and those kind of things can happen, and I wish there was somebody that we could work on that, but I don't see it. I mean, I think we tried.
We, you know, and that's one of the disappointments that I have too. In days gone by, when Rob Ives negotiated for the union, my father negotiated on behalf of the union, Cliff Norris did. Those were days where you worked together and did things the right way. And now, as you can see, it's, I don't care what's right, I don't care what's good for kids. What I care about is the one employee asking for something.
I was doing the business about Chair, so I want to follow up on a statement you made, a comment you made, Mr. Superintendent, about the sick leave bank out being in an antiquated state. And we discussed that at our executive session, negotiating that part out.
We haven't discussed that. That just
I totally agree.
kind of came about because of this grievance.
Is that something that we can look at
Yes.
more closely? Okay, yes, thank you.
Mr. Edison.
Mr. Turner, I'll just, in fact, the last time we were at the table, Mr. Ward made a comment about that some other unions, the sick leave bank is totally administered by the union. And I did tell her that we would be amenable to opening that language up and discussing that too.
And I don't think.
Mr. Galvin?
Last night, superintendent mentioned if you get an opportunity to send an email to the governor's office or call Senate Bill 850, it would be very, very detrimental to us. It's something that we could reach out to. FSBA is against, there's a letter on their website that went to the governor's office with some good talking points on it. On that note, last week I was in Tampa and I got to attend some classes and some interesting things on kind of juvenile justice and different things, and also finance. So, I was also fortunate that I am going to represent us on the board of directors at Florida School Boards Association for our district. So, big Seco, Chris Levy, and Taylor County.
Very good.
Good job, Chris.
I didn't know that. That's
Any way that we can help further our platform and for our students and for our teachers. So, just thought it would be a good opportunity, and I was actually asked to do that. So. And had an opportunity to bend Chris Doolin's ear about the millage issue, and asked him to continue to keep that in the forefront. And also got to see Bob Bedford down there, and looking forward to seeing him when he comes here to the district. So just thanked him and got the opportunity to see Senator Munford, and tell him we appreciate him and just those people that really worked hard for us, and kind of a feather in our cap to get the Williston project. That's all I got.
Good job, Chris.
Ms. Jerky, you got anything?
No, sir.
I have a question here. When do you think that we're gonna start breaking ground in Wood? I mean, what do you think
I think that we will have a ceremony out there and break ground in January.
January?
January.
Wait, can I ask why we wait so long?
Yes.
That'll be an update?
Yes, there's two reasons. First is there's a lot of preliminary work that has to be done. It takes about 3 months from the time that you know you're gonna get the money to get the final drawings with the engineer. The architect does not want to pay engineers a lot of money and then things go south on him. So they wait till the money is procured and then the architect will hire the engineers to do that. So that's about a 3-month process. There's also a process where, and I'm going to tell you right now, June the 30th at 6 p.m., there will be an outreach at the high school auditorium there in Williston, and they have contacted anybody that has expressed an interest, but also people that we have given to them, local subcontractors like brick block masons, concrete people, so forth. And that first meeting, outreach meeting will be June 30th at 6, to try to give them the paperwork they need to be a part of the process and all that. And so there is a lot of preliminary things. But the main reason, Mr. Philpott, is timing. I wouldn't want them to start in August and finish that school in February, and it sit idle from February to the next school year, start next school year. And also, I don't want them to finish in February and then try to met 2 faculties together, 2 lunchroom staffs together, 2 custodial, secretarial staff, try to melt them together while school is in operation. You need that summer months to get everything in place, and that's, you know, I won't talk about female teachers, but they have to build their nest, you know, in their classroom. They need to see their classroom and get everything situated like they want it, and that takes time that we couldn't do during the school year. So I anticipate them finishing in May or June of 16, and then us take the summer months to acclimate the 2 faculties and staffs and get everything that we will be moving. Of course, most 90% of stuff will be brand new stuff, but you know, to get it all situated to open the school year for the 2016-17 school year. But that's the reason.
Okay, thank you. All right, I have no other questions. Any other comments? Adjourn.